Hey friends, let's get our shoulders moving. So let's start out standing up, and we're just gonna take the arms out wide and overhead. And as you take the arms out wide and overhead, we wanna focus on just moving from the shoulder joint and not moving from the spine or the pelvis, okay, or the rib cage. So you wanna keep all of that in check, keep your ribs mellow, keep your pelvis back over your heels, reach your arms wide and up. If you can touch your thumbs together overhead, cool. Keep your elbows straight, however. Now let's add a little variation here. So I'm gonna turn around so you can see, as you come up, if you can touch your thumbs, great, or just get them as close towards one another as possible. But then as you come down, once you get to about wrists at shoulder height, you're gonna flip your palms up towards the ceiling. So that means that your shoulder joint is gonna point forward. You're internally rotating your upper arm. And then you're gonna reach behind you and see if you can find your thumbs behind you. Then as you come back upright, when you get wrist to shoulder height, flip and rotate the other way. And now let's see if you can touch pinkies together. Okay, so wrist at shoulder height and flip. Try to touch thumbs behind your back. And then coming back up, once you get to wrist to shoulder height, rotating palms to face up the other direction and trying to get pinkies together overhead. My arms are already tired. So I think that a lot of times when we think about upper body strength, we think about things like push-ups, and those, for me, I think push-ups suck. I'm working on them because I want to get better at them, but there are also plenty of other ways that we can strengthen our arms without doing push-ups. Plus, if you have a lot of wrist issues or painful joints in your wrists and hands, push-ups are not going to be a great option for you. They're going to be a little bit more high impact. So we're going to be looking today at some more lower impact options for strengthening your arms. So go one more each way, one pinkies above and one thumbs below. Okay, and relax. Okay, so here, let's do some shoulder rolls. Can you feel your shoulder blades moving and sliding around on your back? So as you bring your shoulder blades up to your ears, can you feel your, as you bring your shoulder joints up to your ears, can you feel your shoulder blades moving up your back? And then as you move your shoulder joints forward, can you feel your shoulder blades wrapping around, moving apart from one another? And then you can draw down and the shoulder blades move down. And then you can draw the shoulder blades in towards the spine. And again, so just trying to make those really big circles to get those shoulder blades moving. And reverse. One more. And then go alternating. And reverse. Great. Okay, so from here, take your arms overhead. Stop when your arms stop. So you don't want your rib cage thrusting forward. Keep your ribs mellow. Keep your pelvis weighted over your heels. And then from here, you're going to bend your elbows to 90 degrees. Okay, so it's like you have your goalpost arms here. And then while you're here, you're gonna kind of squeeze your shoulder blades towards one another, any amount. So I could squeeze my shoulder blades towards one another a lot, and then my rib cage goes forward. Okay, so if I have the goal of keeping my rib cage mellow, I'm just focusing on those muscles in between the shoulder blades. So my shoulder blades aren't gonna go as close together as they could if I let other parts do the moving, but I really wanna concentrate the work right there between my shoulder blades and not in my spine. Now, go ahead and lift your arms back up. And this time, as you bring your elbows back down to goalposts, I want you to imagine that you're resisting yourself a little bit. like you're trying to push some concrete plates down with your elbows. And then inhale up. And again, pull down, resist yourself as you come down. Keep the ribs mellow. Inhale to lift, exhale to pull down. Whew, feeling it. So you can always add challenge here by holding onto a resistance band and pulling down and apart with a resistance band. That's a variation. One more. And now keep your elbows at shoulder height. Point your fingertips forward. Keep your elbows at shoulder height and try pointing your fingertips down, down, down as far as they'll go. Woo, are your arms shaking? My arms are shaking. Go ahead and release tension from your neck. Say no to tension in the neck. Okay, keep your elbows at shoulder height. Ooh, and point your fingers forward again. And point your hands back up, fingers back up towards the ceiling. Reach your arms overhead and throw your arms down with a big sigh. Shake it out, shake it out, shake it out. That's great. Let's release some tension in the neck here. Sometimes when we're doing a lot of that shoulder work, tension can creep up into the neck. So go ahead and with your head still upright, tuck your chin. So you get a cute little chin friend there to your actual chin. And imagine that you have a high ponytail and somebody is lifting it right up towards the ceiling. So chin down, high pony up, and keep your chin tucked. So you have your little chin friends. And then you're gonna bring your chin down to your chest. Take a deep breath. And then keeping your chin tucked and your high pony reaching, you're gonna bring your right ear to your right shoulder. Nice full breath. Same thing, chin tucked, ponytail reaching, and come back to center, and then left ear to left shoulder. And bring your chin back to your chest and center, and lift your head back upright. Keep your chin tucked, keep reaching through your high pony for 3, 2, and 1. Say goodbye to your chins. Let them get reabsorbed into your neck. Okay, we're gonna come down to our hands and knees here. And if your wrists start to bother you, please feel free to come up onto your fists instead. Coming back to that shoulder blade movement, let's go ahead and make sure that the middle fingers are pointing forward and that the elbow crease is pointing in a line with the middle finger. So keep your ribs in a neutral position and start to squeeze your shoulder blades towards one another. So again, I could get my shoulder blades really close together, but I have to let my rib cage flare down towards the ground in order to make that happen. I really just want the movement to come from right there in between the shoulder blades. So I'm gonna lock my ribs in place and just squeeze the shoulder blades towards one another, any amount. And then I'm gonna push down through my hands and my arms to get the shoulder blades to move apart. And then again, squeeze the shoulder blades in towards one another and push through the hands to move the shoulder blades as far apart as they'll go. And we'll keep going here for a few more. Last one, and on this one, we're gonna hold with the shoulder blades apart. So go ahead and press, 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 press the shoulder blades apart. Keep your neck long and relaxed. See if you can move your shoulder blades any further apart by pressing through the hands or the fists. For 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and drop down onto your forearms. So we're gonna have the elbows under the shoulders and the wrists in line with the elbows. So our forearms are parallel like railroad tracks. Okay, keep your elbows right where they are, because as we start to move, the tendency might be for them to splay outward side to side, and that will kind of reduce the efficacy of this move. So let's go ahead and take the shoulders back behind the elbows, and that's also going to look like your hips moving closer towards your heels. You're going to go as far as you can while still keeping the elbows and the forearms parallel. And then you'll come back and forward. You can let your shoulders come forward of your elbows. And then again, you're going to go back. And just going back and forth. I like to do this moving really slowly because I think my shoulders are really interesting, and I feel like there's a lot to pay attention to. There's a lot of sensations to notice. Like when I come back here, the feeling that I get in my armpits, it's really interesting. So watch your armpits. Notice if you've got any interesting sensations going down in your armpits. Keep your neck long. Try not to let your head hang. You can always imagine that you have a grapefruit that you're holding in between your chin and your chest. And I find that that really helps me figure out where my neck and my head are supposed to be in space. Last one here. Great. Okay, we're gonna come back to this move in just a second, but now let's go ahead and come down onto our stomachs. Okay, so from here, you can rest your forehead on the floor if you like, or you can keep holding your grapefruit in between your chin and your chest. It's your choice. So we're gonna start with the arms back behind us, kind of palms on your outer thighs, shoulder blades down away from the ears. Imagine you're tucking your shoulder blades into your back pockets. So if you're starting with your thumbs resting on the ground, go ahead and lift your thumbs up away from the ground so your arms are straight. And then you're gonna reach your arms as high up towards the ceiling behind you as you can, while still keeping your shoulder blades tucked into your back pockets. And then you're gonna pulse. It's like you're trying to karate chop something that is behind you, but you're keeping your elbows straight the whole time, saying hiya to your triceps. My triceps are saying hiya to me right now. Keep breathing. Maybe keep holding that grapefruit in between your chin and your chest, or if you need to give your neck a break, you can put your forehead on the ground. Notice when you start to get tired, watch for the tendency to have your arms coming out wider and wider away from your sides. There's nothing wrong with that. But for today, let's try to keep the arms close in to the sides so that we're really, really targeting the triceps. Now, retuck your shoulder blades into your back pockets because we're gonna go for 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Oh, collapse. Okay, let's come back up onto our forearms. So if you want to go through a push-up, you can. You can also use your forearms to press up if your wrists are bothering you. So we're still in this parallel forearms position, but instead of having our palms facing down, we're going to rotate and have our palms facing the ceiling now. And really stretch through your hands to try to glue all 10 fingernails down to the ground. Okay, this is so hard for me. My hands start to rest in this more like curled up position. And this is a really great way to practice opening and stretching through the palm. And we can also start to see through this movement how much the hands are connected to the shoulders. Okay, so remember how much you were able to move with your palms facing down. Now let's see how far you can go with your palms facing up. So be honest, glue your your fingernails down and start to take your shoulders back behind your elbows. That's it. That's as far as it wants to go. And then come forward, bring your shoulders forward, bring your shoulders back. So just floss back and forth here. Whew. This is one of those things that is kind of atomic. It might not look like very much from the outside, but while you're doing it, whew, you sure can feel a lot. Keep your fingernails glued down to the mat or to the ground, whatever you're using. For 3 more. Two more. Last one. Great job. Come back to your stomach. Rest for a moment. Okay, now we're gonna do some swimmers. I'm gonna scoot back a little bit so I don't hit the wall. Okay, so get that grapefruit back in between your chin and your chest. And then go ahead and extend your arms forward. See how it feels to pick your hands up away from the ground. Now, if this feels like too much strain on your lower back, please feel free to put a block or a stack of books right here, and you can just rest your hands as kind of a little break in this flow. So the hands are up, and then you're gonna come back to your goalposts position that we did while we were standing. Don't move your, it's not a more is better kind of a thing. Don't move your elbow back further than your shoulder. Keep your elbow in a line with your shoulder. And then you're going to touch your fingertips down towards the ground. And this is a great time to kind of snuggle your shoulder blades onto your back, down away from your ears a little bit. And then pick your hands back up into your goalposts and dive forward. Again, if you need to touch down onto a stack of books or a block, please feel free to do that. And then come back to goalposts, touch down, back to goalposts, dive forward. Goalposts, touch down, goalposts, dive forward. So keep going at your own pace. Each time you come to the touchdown with your fingers down, this is a great time to check in and make sure that your shoulder blades are not creeping up towards your ears. For 3, this is 2, and this is 1. Last one. Finish strong. Dive forward and relax. Take some deep breaths. If you need to rock your hips a little bit from side to side, feel free to do that. Okay, we're gonna come back up to an all fours position. So if you wanna press up through your hands, or if you wanna use your forearms and come up through a forearm plank, your choice. We're gonna come into kind of a yoga child's pose shape here. So you're gonna set your hips back towards your heels, and bring your head down towards the ground. So you can always put a block underneath your head if it doesn't comfortably make it all the way to the ground, or you can just keep your head away from the ground if it's comfortable without support. So your arms are going to be out in front of you, and try turning as you're reaching with your arms, try turning your elbow creases to point up towards the ceiling, and then set your elbows down. Bring your hands together, and then you're going to let your head bow and bring your hands behind your head. So my thumbs are touching my spine. And now let's work it a little bit here. So press the elbows down into the ground and isometrically drag them back towards your knees. So they're not really going to move. You're not really going to curl up into a tinier ball. You're just pulling a bit with your elbows, maybe feeling some stretch in the triceps. For 3, 2, and 1. Go ahead and bring your hands back down. And then you can walk your hands back to your knees and press yourself back upright. Let's come into a comfortable seated position. If that's a seated position on the floor, or if it's a seated position in a chair, either one is great. So now take your left arm and wrap it around the front of your torso, and you're gonna lock it in place with your right arm. Your right arm's gonna pull back with your left arm. So you're pulling your left arm back, but then you're gonna press your left arm into your right arm. So your left arm is essentially trying to come back to its starting place, but the right arm is offering this resistance here. And so as you have that resistance going, go ahead and swivel your torso a little bit from side to side. And as you go, watch for a change in the sensation in your left shoulder. Last one. Great. Okay, so from here, wherever you're sitting or however you're sitting, put your right hand down. Maybe that's on the floor, or maybe that's on the seat of the chair. If you're using a chair, you're gonna take your left hand and cup the base of your skull. So you want your elbow pointing pretty up towards the ceiling. It might be out to the side, so encourage it to wrap around and point forward and up. And so you're gonna let your head come back into your hand. And this is where that grapefruit might be resting here again. Okay, and so you're gonna lean to the right for a side bend. You might walk your fingers out if you're on the ground. So while you're here, pull with your arm. So it's almost as if you're trying to force your head forward, but simultaneously tuck your chin, lengthening up through the ponytail like we did before. You're gonna press your head back into your hands. So we've got some resistance here. Take some deep breaths. And see what happens. Watch for a change in sensation if you start to rotate towards the ground and you point your elbow towards the ground. And what happens when you rotate your torso up towards the ceiling. And just go toggle back and forth there, explore. Keep that resistance between hand and head. Great, and let's go ahead and come back upright. Lower your left arm, take a full breath in and out. Okay, if you need to adjust your seat, go for it. Adjust your seat. I'm gonna switch the cross of my legs. I'm gonna take my right arm across the front of my body now, and the left arm is gonna be the resistor. So I'm pulling my right arm back behind me, using my left arm, but simultaneously I'm pushing my right arm into my left arm as if I'm trying to take my right arm back open wide. Okay, so there's that resistance there. Breathe into that. Notice where you feel more of the stretch. So some folks might feel more of the stretch here in this deltoid area in the upper arm. Some folks might feel it more on the shoulder blade, or even between the shoulder blade and the spine, or all of the above. So pay attention, watch that. And now let's add the little swivel. And as you're doing your little swivel twist here, you're paying attention to see if that stretch sensation changes and how as you move. One more each way. Okay, go ahead and relax. Oh. Now take your right hand and cup the back of your head. So remember, we don't want the elbow pointing out to the side. We want to wrap the elbow forward and point it straight ahead and up towards the ceiling. The left hand's going to come down to the ground, or if you're seated in a chair, you're holding onto the chair seat. And then we're going to lean over to the left in a side bend. And then if you need to walk your left hand out on the ground, you can. So here, tuck your chin and reach up through your ponytail, just like we did before. And so you're pulling your head forward with your right hand, but at the same time, you're pushing your head back into your hand. So you're creating some nice resistance there, getting some strengthening and stretching simultaneously for some of your arm muscles and for the situation there in your neck. Avoid or notice if you have the urge to turn your head to look up towards the ceiling, and make sure that your head is just straight ahead. Don't try to turn your neck here. That might be a little too much for your neck muscles today. And now keep your resistance, but we're going to explore how things feel differently and change as we open the chest towards the ceiling, as we point the chest down towards the ground. So just toggle back and forth there. Keep the resistance between your arm, your hand, and your head. Last one. Great. Go ahead and come back upright. Okay. Last thing here, I'm going to turn sideways to show you. This is also something you can do while seated in a chair, or you can do it while seated on the ground. So if you're seated in a chair, you're going to scoot your tush forward a little bit towards the edge of the seat and reach back for the back of the chair. Okay. Now, if you're seated on the ground like me, you're just going to reach back, and you can choose if you want to put fingertips on the ground behind you, fists on the ground behind you, or palms down. It's your choice. And then wherever you are, whether you're on the ground or you're in the chair, you're going to move your bottom forward away from your arms, away from your shoulders, and let your shoulder blades come a little bit closer towards one another, towards the spine. Now, keep your rib cage mellow. So the tendency might be to thrust your rib cage up towards the ceiling here or forward. Just keep your rib cage mellow so that we're really concentrating this at the shoulders and not in the spine. And then you can play around with kind of shifting your weight from arm to arm. Just enjoy one big breath here, expanding the rib cage. And again. Okay, so to release, go ahead and scoot your bottom back towards your hands. Go ahead and release and sit upright. Now just take a moment to tune in to how your arms and shoulders feel. Maybe you close your eyes. Maybe you take a deep breath. Maybe you open your eyes after you've taken just a moment. I hope that your shoulders feel and your arms feel juiced up and alive, and maybe tomorrow a little bit sore. But if you come back to the stretching, the resisted stretching that we did, okay, that might help you tomorrow to continue to feel better. This one too, okay? Thank you so much for joining me, and we can have strong arms without doing push-ups. I'll see you next time.